CSU system-wide CSUBUY procure-to-pay or P2P demo series. We're excited to have you join us as we continue preparing for the rollout of CSUBUY across all CSU campuses. CSUBUY P2P is a comprehensive system-wide solution designed to streamline and standardize the full procure-to-pay process. This powerful tool brings together multiple functions under one platform, including supplier self-registration and access to a system-wide shared supplier database, requisition entry and purchase order issuance, receipt tracking and payment processing, and a centralized location for routing and collecting all necessary financial and compliance approvals. By integrating these capabilities, CSUBUY P2P supports greater efficiency, transparency, and consistency in our procurement and payment activities across the CSU system. Today's session is one in a series of demos that aim to give you an early look, a peek behind the curtain at various parts of the new system. To respect your time and ensure clarity, we're breaking down different functions of P2P into focused demo sessions. Please keep in mind that this is not a training session. These demos are for general exposure only. Formal hands-on training will be provided closer to your campus's go-live date. Each demo will follow the same webinar format and will be recorded. Recordings will be available on your campus's CSUBUY P2P website for those unable to attend live. The Q&A feature will remain open throughout today's session, and we'll do our very best to answer as many questions as possible. At the end of the demo, we'll also share the name and contact information for your campus lead so you know who to reach out to with questions or follow-up needs. Once again, thank you for being here, and let's get started. Here's what we'll cover in today's session. We'll start with a brief introduction of CSUBUY, then review the overall project timeline and current status. We'll provide some context for workflow and approver in the new P2P system, and then move into the demo itself. To support the CO core team with the P2P implementation, the non-live campuses have been organized into regional groups, with each group assigned a strategic advisor. The strategic advisors are Carrie Schmidt, Nicole Lack, myself, Sarah Rumiano, and Tawny Fleming. Each of us brings extensive experience and expertise in procure-to-pay processes, and we are here to help guide and support campuses throughout their implementation journey. Note the live campuses are shown with little green dots. The first two campuses successfully went live with P2P in October of 2023, marking a major milestone in this system-wide transformation. Since then, two additional waves have continued the momentum, bringing more campuses onto the platform. With the introduction of the Chancellor's Multi-University Collaboration Initiative, the timeline for full implementation has been accelerated. As a result, the remaining campuses are now scheduled to go live by early 2026, ensuring that the entire CSU system benefits from a united, modern procure-to-pay solution.
Before we dive into functionality, let's take a moment to review the vision and goals of CSUBUY P2P. Understanding the why helps us better understand the design and decisions that have shaped this project. Our vision for CSUBUY P2P is to standardize procurement processes across the CSU, reduce manual steps, and drive efficiencies through automation. Ultimately, this means saving time, reducing risk, and lowering costs. The objectives of P2P are centered around creating a streamlined, integrated platform that simplifies and enhances how we manage procurement and payments across the CSU system. The graphic on this slide visually represents the entire procure-to-pay life cycle and the key functions that P2P supports. Starting with shopping for goods and services, users can engage in purchasing with access to preferred, contracted, and sustainable suppliers. This flows into requisitioning, ordering, and receiving, all of which are handled in a centralized environment with fewer manual steps. The process concludes with invoicing and payment, emphasizing automation, minimal touch points, and visibility throughout. What's important to understand is that P2P will replace many of the fragmented campus-specific tools and manual workflows currently in use. It consolidates supplier management, including supplier self-registration in a shared system-wide supplier database, requisition creation, purchase order issuance, receipts, and invoice processing, all into one cohesive system. While P2P will integrate with PeopleSoft CFS, allowing for necessary financial synchronization, the day-to-day work will take place within the P2P platform. For example, users will initiate and approve requisitions, manage POs, and review receipts and invoices all within P2P. To keep these demos digestible, we're breaking down the full functionality of P2P into multiple demo sessions, each highlighting different aspects of the platform.
The P2P platform offers a range of valuable benefits. For suppliers, it ensures timely payments and provides convenient self-service tools to track invoice and payment status. For internal users, it streamlines the purchasing experience and automatically routes requisitions and purchase orders to include all financial and compliance approvals. The new P2P platform will replace the current CSUBUY marketplace that requires a P card to complete transactions. So it will also reduce the amount of monthly transactions that will need to be reconciled. At a system-wide level, the platform enhances data quality, increases visibility across campuses, and supports our ongoing commitment to operational efficiency, accountability, and strategic improvement. This slide shows our high-level timeline. The 14 campuses that are part of the acceleration project are currently in the implementation phase, with readiness and deployment activities scheduled through early 2026. This slide shows the options for requisition workflow in P2P. From submitting the request to creating a purchase order, the process includes key review for fiscal approval, compliance checks like IT, facilities, and legal, and finally, procurement authorization. Each step is triggered based on the details of the requisition, helping ensure accuracy, policy alignment, and accountability before any purchase is finalized. Now we're going to shift to the workflow and approval portion of today's session. This will lay the foundation for understanding what you'll see in the demo. Please note that the configuration you'll be presented is currently from a test environment. Your campus final configuration may look different. Now we will hand it off to Michael to demonstrate the workflow and approval experience. Michael, please introduce yourself and let's get started.
Hi, my name is Michael McNairn, System Admin for CSUBUY at the Chancellor's Office. I have years of experience in procurement at Chico as a single campus, and have recently been into the Chancellor's Office for CSUBUY project, implementing all campuses and helping support configuration and training. So today's demo is about workflow and approvers. Just going to repeat the disclaimers. This is not complete training. This is just a demonstration. Also, this is most of what you'll see will be in what we call UIT, or the test environment. It looks very similar. It functions basically the same, but it might be a little different than how your final campus will be configured. So for today's demo, we will be just covering the basics, the high-level overview, and so that is basically what you'll need to see. Workflow and approvals do go hand in hand. They are related to each other. From a previous way, you may have been processing orders. Now a requisition is entered into the system, and everything related to that order is also in the system. Any quotes or backup attachments, any justifications, financial information and chart fields, comments, and all approvals. Financial approval, compliance approval, procurement approval, and everything's all in one system. That way you don't have separate emails flying around. You don't have stray pieces of paper stuck on somebody's desk. It's all electronic and all in the system. Better visibility, better for tracking, and it shows all audit trails for every order. I'm going to share my screen and go into our test environment. This is the home page of CSUBUY. The software is powered by Jagger, and we have it very customized for the CSU. This home screen is basically the shopping homepage, a guided buying homepage. And so there's a lot of information, kind of a dashboard of different links and shortcuts, starting out forms, and different widgets showing a lot of different information. Some of this is, has been covered on previous demos and will also be covered on future demos. What I'm going to show today is mainly the related to workflow and going into approved documents. So our first section is we're just going to be showing some navigation. How do I find those requisitions or documents that I need to approve? If you know the document number, such as the requisition number, the simplest way is go in the top section, top right, where it says search, and just type in the rec number. If you type it in, you can go directly there. For example, I'm going to type in 4360725. If there are any other documents attached to it, it'll also show up in this list. For example, this is the requisition number I entered. The purchase order number also shows up because this rec already has a purchase order tied to it. So in this case, I don't need to go into that requisition approved because it's already been made into a purchase order. On the far upper right, there's a couple icons that show numbers or flagged items. These first one is action items. And action items are the different categories of documents that you need to take action on. The top section says my assigned approvals, requisitions to approve or vouchers to approve. And the lower section is unassigned approvals. Basically, things that you have access to. You might be part of a shared folder group of several people in your department that have access to this. They're unassigned. Once you assign it to yourself, it'll show up under something saying now it's your assigned approval that you can go into and look at it. We're not going to go there yet. I'm just showing you the sample. Different categories. There's requisitions, purchase orders, change requests, and so on of these different document types that need action on. The next little icon up here is the bell, and that's called notifications. These are notifications that when there is something you take action on, it lets you know. It'll send you a notification through the system or through an email, and you have a chance to see all notifications. I have a lot in here, but that is notifications. The top right section of the little silhouette of a person is you yourself. This is where you can go in and view your profile and dashboards, and a few other items. As it relates to workflow, I want to show you under your profile how to change notifications. Under your profile, under notification preferences, shopping carts and requisitions, this shows all the different categories of when there's document is processed in different steps. It will send a notification. Now, there's some default set up already in production. This has a little bit less in test environment. But for example, if there was a purchase order that's been submitted and is now in workflow approval. Right now it says none. I can go in and edit that section and override it. And I'm going to say I could do email only notification, notification within the system only, showing that little bell little number up there, or both. You can do email and notification. So that's how you would change your notifications. You can do it for any one of these categories. Again, what's set up as default is the most common configuration that you may not need to change. But if you find that you're getting way too many emails and you just kind of look in the system anyways at approvals, you might just want to say the system only, which would be notification only. I would caution saying that if you do change it to none, saying I'm getting way too many notifications, I'm going to cut out the email and the system notification, it's not going to let you know that you have a new document that you need to take action on. And therefore things might be backing up, waiting for you to take action, but it's not letting you know. So it is helpful to have at least one or both of these, email or a system notification. Going to the home screen is always the easiest place to get back to that simple dashboard. On the left side menu down at the very bottom, there's a little arrow, and that will kind of shrink the left side menu to just showing icons only. It gives you a little bit more real estate on your home screen if you need it for a small laptop screen. Clicking that arrow out will show the labels and give you a little bit better visibility on what you need to do. On the home screen, there down below all the forms, there's a couple widgets here is what we call it. Each of these little sections are widgets. Order search, there's just some shortcuts saying my requisitions that I've entered and submitted, my purchase orders, vouchers, and my approvals. So this is a very key spot here in the demo for today of going to my approvals. We'll go there in a minute. I'm just still showing navigation. It also shows some saved searches in your search screens. Very powerful. You can search for requisitions or purchase orders or other documents. And if you've saved that specific search, like a query or a report, you can see your saved searches there, showing the top 4 or clicking the button to see all saved searches. On the right-hand side under My Approvals, this is also another place basically showing you the documents that you need to take action on. They are in your queue. They may or may not be assigned to you, but it does show the type of document that needs action, details such as the number, what the folder name is, and how long it's been there. Here's some tips and tricks about this widget. It can be a little overwhelming, so use these steps to make it a little bit more manageable to see exactly what you need to do. So it shows right now, I have a lot in here because I do a lot of testing. There's 239 items in this widget. It only shows up to 10. I can show up to 200 if I want. It does make the screen look a little funny, but if you just resize your screen, now you can see all the list. Again, 239 items is way too much. I'm going to simplify this even more. In the upper right, there's a little filter, and I can say I just only want to look at requisitions, or I only want to look at purchase orders, vouchers, or etc. So I can do different approval types of documents, or I can filter it even further by folder. So now it filtered by this folder here. I can even say I want to see my approvals, things that really matter to me. So I now made that long list of 239 items down to 12 items. And I can see in the right-hand side column of the number of documents in this area. I'm used to seeing something in procurement review catch. So I see there's 15 that are available but not assigned to anybody, 16 total. 0 assigned to me and 1 assigned to one other person. So that's just another little tip and trick about how to manage this approval widget by these folders and grouping here. So that helps a lot. And if I wanted to see these 15 items, like anything that where you see is blue and hyperlinked, you can click on it and just go directly to that. And it'll take you to those items that you just need quick visibility on. So that's navigation on the home screen on these different widgets for approval. I'm now going to go into just a requisition document and see navigation within a document. Still looking at just quick overview before taking any approval action. We're just getting the lay of the land of what's happening and where things are. This is a requisition. This is a requisition that somebody submitted. It says prepared by, and at the top section is the header, has some just general information, bill to, ship to, stuff that applies to the whole order. Down below is, you can see the supplier and the line items of the requisition. All this is going to eventually be turned into a purchase order, and that will be lines on a purchase order, header information on a purchase order. But basically, we all work in the requisition. We submit it, we review it, we approve it, and that's what gets most of the work happening just in the requisition. Once the requisition is approved, it does turn into a purchase order. So the line items, when you're reviewing a requisition for approval, it is important to see what is being bought, commodity codes, chart field information, taxability, price, all those things. You want to look at what a person is buying before reviewing it and approving it. Within each line, there's two main types of orders. There is what we call a punch out order or a form request order. Punch out orders are, if you've been using the marketplace in the past for your credit card orders, punch out suppliers are like Staples, B&H, Fisher Scientific, Amazon, all those where you go out to their site, shop on their catalog, bring the cart back to CSUBUY to finish off the order. That still happens here. We do have the punch out suppliers. And when those carts are brought back, it would come into a draft requisition, and when submitted, it will go through this workflow. It is not paid by credit card anymore. It'll be paid by invoice, electronic invoice, and it will go through this workflow that we're describing here today. The other main type of order is what we call a form request order. Those are something that not punch out suppliers at all. It's where a user will go through a request and go through a form that has, you list down the supplier and list all the different questions, answer questions. It kind of guides you through what type of order you're placing. And when that is completed, it gets attached to the requisition. I'm saying that because on this here, this one item, what's on our requisition here, that form is linked here. This is a form request order, and it's for software. If I click right on that form, it will take me to the request, and here's all the different sections. Again, this is probably covered under a different demonstration, but during review and approval of a requisition, if you click on that, it will take you through all, you can go through all the different questions and answers to see exactly what is being bought. For example, this is IT, so you can see the details of this software being purchased. The answers to these will help you make a decision whether to approve the requisition or if you need more information, etc.
Hey, Michael.
Yes.
This might be a good place. We have a couple questions about unassigned transactions, and I was responding to questions, so I don't know what was said about that.
Okay.
But I'll ask you the first question. What would cause a transaction that was not assigned to be assignable? The action is grayed out. Is that a workflow issue?
It could be if it's grayed out. We'll cover that a little bit more in detail as I go through the workflow.
Okay, there's one more.
Okay.
So let me just,
We might want to come back to that question after I go through the workflow. If I didn't answer that question specifically, we can
Okay.
refer back to it.
Okay, this one says, for unassigned items, do they sit indefinitely awaiting assignment, or are they automatically assigned to a default contact after they hit a threshold of waiting in limbo for a certain period of time?
Yeah, I'll again talk about that in more detail later. To answer it, a brief response now. Yes, they do stay in limbo until some kind of action is taken on it. So, for example, I'm going to go more in detail later, but if this is an IT review as unassigned, if I click on it, these are all the people within that folder that it could be assigned to. It automatically notifies all these people saying that here is a requisition that needs a review and approval. One of those people would assign it to themselves and then take action on it. If nobody ever assigns it to themselves, it would just stay there as unassigned indefinitely. Probably send out reminders to these people saying, you got something there, you need to go look at it. If after a day or two, if it still hasn't been taken action, it will send another notification or email to these people saying there is something in this folder that these people need to take action on. Any other questions before I move forward? Okay.
No, thank you.
So on this requisition, if it is a form request, you're able to go out to the form to look at the details of that form. So the information might not all be here directly. If it is something much more involved, such as an IT request, those questions and answers and information will be on that form to review before approval. If you're curious, you can go to the supplier right there. It shows just a really brief information about the supplier's name and commodity codes or NEGS codes, whatever type of supplier it is. Other spots of the requisition that are important to look at and be aware of, comments. The tab across the top. So the summary tab shows where we are, that just the basic header and line items on the order. Comments, this is a spot where communication can be done in the system regarding this order. This is very helpful for anything related to this order. People can comment on, and it stays within the system, so there's no separate email on the outside. To add a comment, just write your comment and you can notify us. It kind of gives a default of who's already involved in this order, such as the requester. You can add additional recipients. So you would look for other people within the business unit and add it to them, add it to this comment. You can attach files to this comment, which would be an attachment to the requisition. Or you could just make this comment only, but not notify anybody. It's just basically a comment to file on the rec. When you have entered this comment, you just click the checkbox and that adds it, saying now here is a comment on the requisition. It shows up here highlighting number 1, there's a comment on the requisition. Attachments is also a good place to look. It's usually where a user has added a quote or some other supplier information or approval information, or maybe it's an email that somebody did do an outside email providing information that can be attached here. So that is also a good thing to look at. History. If you're wondering what happened to this order, who has done what in the past, this is a good thing to look at. It's very detailed, might be a little more than what you really want, but it shows history. And so it shows the last thing that happened was I just added this comment here. If you're ever wondering what happened or what's going on with this rec, history is a good place to look. So on the right-hand side, it shows kind of a quick summary of the order, the dollar amount. It also shows the status of the requisition. It says pending because it's in the middle of workflow. This whole section down here are all the different workflow steps for this specific order. I'm going to show you a very big involved slide. You don't need to know this too well, other than just be aware that when a requisition is submitted, the system looks at it, looks what type of order it is, and it'll go through every one of those steps to see, does this workflow step apply? It's going to go to DOA. Might go to secondary review, might not, depending on how you have your campus set up. So that's the green is the financial or fiscal review that the system does. All these yellow boxes are for compliance. So IT, facilities, independent contractor, not all these are going to happen all at the same time. It could be that it's just one of these will, or two. The rest it'll ignore and just skip. After compliance review, it goes to procurement and other more administrative overview and approval. And once the whole requisition workflow is approved, it'll create the PO. So every document has a workflow set up like this. Requisition has the most. So there's requisition, there's purchase order workflow, and voucher workflow as well. The reason why I show you that is because looking on the right-hand side of this specific requisition, it doesn't show all those steps, it just shows a few of them. So these are the only steps that apply to this specific order. Under IT review, it happened because of the form. It might trigger because of the form, or it might trigger because of a commodity code. It goes, anything with a form always stops at procurement review. If it's over a certain dollar amount, it might go to a procurement direct review, which is over the buyer's dollar limit for signature. Then there's a few automatic steps in there as well, like OFAC and creating PO. So the ones with the blue, that shows when you click on it, there's people assigned to it. This is how you have your campus users set up in a specific folder for approval. For this example, IT review, here's all the people at that campus who would be involved in this IT review. So they would assign it to themselves, review it, and approve it. Once approved, it'll go to the next step in the line. These happen to be done in parallel, which any of these could be in any order, but all three have to be completed before moving on to the next step. So you can always click in that little circle next to that workflow step name to see who's involved in there. So that's workflow. Because I am a system admin, I have this little box here. It says show skip steps. This is just for your awareness, saying here's all of this other skip workflow steps that it skipped. That kind of looks back to that main picture that I showed you previously of all the other steps. It looked at it and said, doesn't apply, we're going to skip it. This one doesn't apply, we're going to skip it. So that just lets you know that all this is automatic. All this is done electronically in the system. It will go to the spot where it's supposed to go based on how you have your campus configured. It goes to the right people who need to look at it and approve it. It'll send them notifications, and they will go in there and review it and approve it, and then it'll move on to the next workflow step. Let's take a pause here and cover any other questions.
Okay, so we're plugging away at all the stuff that's in here.
Okay.
Are people able to unmute and ask any questions? You might have to raise your hand and then Chris can unmute you or allow you to unmute yourself. I'm not quite sure. Are you seeing anything on your end, Chris?
Yes, let me try allow to talk. There we go. Noreen?
Hi there. Calling from Long Beach, and we currently for P-card purchases for equipment or hazmat, we go through a pre-approval process before it's submitted, before it's purchased. Will that be incorporated in this process, or would this be like a review process before it goes into this process?
So this part of responding to your question is your campus business process versus what the system can do as well, and sometimes they work in combination. So during configuration for your campus, we have set up your workflow. It doesn't really cover pre-approvals in the system. It will cover the basic rule setup is if it's this, it goes here. You know, if it's this commodity code, which might be a hazardous material commodity code, it will go to the team to review it, to certain people. If it is certain form, then it will go to these people to review it. So yeah, again, part of it is your business process at your campus. Can that be done within the review, or does it need to happen outside of the system before the order is even started?
Thank you.
Michael, we're getting questions if you demonstrated the actual ability to how you approve when you go in the various options. So maybe just touch on that again.
Yeah, I haven't gone into the details of that. I've done a lot of overview and basic setup, so that's the next step of
Okay,
showing
thank you.
exactly how to approve something.
Hilda, if you're ready.
Yes, I have a quick question. I did notice as you were going through the summary page of kind of like looking at the different types of I guess, you know, whether it's requisition, purchase orders, I didn't see a date incorporated in there. Just wondering if that is something, a setting that would be I guess done by either the university you're in, or is that just a standard setting?
When you say date, are you saying when the requisition was submitted, or
Yeah,
the
when it was
approval?
submitted or created. I mean, I
Okay.
know that it was on the step-by-step kind of like, I know a workflow process, but there is a summary page in which you went to where you said,
Mhm.
oh, you can change it from like 10 to 200.
Right down here.
Yeah, and I was just wondering, like maybe if you're just looking at your change request or only specific POs, would it have a date incorporated on like maybe when it came into your
Yep.
queue?
So I will show that next. When I've grouped this down to just summary,
Okay.
the date has gone away. If I take these away, it does show, well, it shows the name, the cart name. If they didn't name it to something else, it does show the original date of when that requisition was created.
Okay, awesome. So it's on the name.
But we're going to go to another screen here in just a minute to where you can see greater detail.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, or ready to move on?
I think we're ready to move on.
Okay. You've been asking, and now all that background information is important just for awareness and understanding about where things are and how to. We are going to show exactly how to go in to approve a document. Like with most software, there's like 4 or 5 or 6 different ways of navigation to get to a certain spot. There's 2 main ways to do this, going to the document directly or going to your approvals tab. I am first just going to go to the document directly. And sometimes when you get the notification, it will say, you have a requisition to approve, click here to go view it. And when you click here to go view it, it'll take you there. And let's see. Yep. Okay, here's the sample. I am in a requisition. Looking before doing any approval, you kind of want to see what it is, who submitted it, what are they buying, where it is in the process. So it has already gone through DOA, the financial approval. It is now an independent contractor review. That's the blue highlighted spot. Any of the previous steps have been checkmarked and completed, and these other future steps are empty. So we are currently in the independent contractor review. So generally they don't look at the money too much. They want to look at who it is, who's the supplier, what services are they performing, or products they're providing. If I don't get enough information just from the line, I would go out to the form, review the information, the questions and answers. This happens to be a goods and services request form. After reviewing it, getting the information I need, I go back to the requisition and I say, okay, it all looks good. I'm ready to approve this. The first thing to do is see the drop-down arrows. You can just approve it, I think, if you have the right permissions. But the best thing to do is say assign and further actions. This gives you greater options of menu action items of what to do. You can approve it. You can, which just completes that step and then moves on to the next step in workflow. Return it to shared folder. So basically what I did, I assigned it to myself so I can take action on it. If I say, oh, this is not mine, I didn't mean to assign it to myself, returning it to the shared folder is kind of, in other words, unassigning it, giving it back to the pool of people within your department in that workflow. For example, these were all the people that have the ability to approve this document. They would have to assign it to themselves and approve it. So I went in there and I assigned it to myself and approved it. So I could return it to shared folder, and that just says, oh, it returns it so somebody else can grab it. I'm going to go back to that document. So it now says unassigned. So I'm going to go back and assign it to myself, assign and further actions. I could place it on hold, return to requisitioner. So that takes it all the way back to the beginning. Returning the requisition, it bypasses all previous steps and starts past DOA, past some automatic steps, returns it to Sarah, the person who submitted this, saying, you need to fix it. It's not quite right. You need to, do some changes to it and then resubmit it. So that returns it all the way back to the requisitioner. You can forward to another person who can approve it in this step, or you could reject it. When you reject it, it's just dead, canceled, gone. It can't be restarted. It's done. That's a full rejection, means you can't take any action on it, and you just can't work on it. It's all done. Let me explain returning, forwarding, and another step called revert workflow step. So if I forward to this, forward is possible, but you need to take an extra thinking action of, is this appropriate to forward what workflow is it and who's involved. So right now the workflow step is independent contractor review. If I forward it to somebody else and they have the approval role, they can approve it in this independent contractor review step. So I need to be careful who I forward it to for this step. Hopefully it would be, you would choose somebody within the same workflow that has the ability to do it. They are already assigned this workflow independent contractor step. So if I forward to any of these other people, that is an appropriate action, because once they get it and approve it, it'll move on to procurement review procurement review. If I forward it to somebody else and they're not in independent contractor review, they can approve it because you've now forwarded it to them. They may not have the appropriate review expertise on this specific step. And if they approve it, it'll automatically go to the next step. So that's a judgment call here. When you forward things, it does forward the ability to approve in that step. You don't want to just forward to anybody. And for example, you don't want to forward back to the requisitioner. And if they have the approver, they can just approve it and they'll go to the next step. You want the compliance subject matter experts in that area in order to approve that area. I'm talking facilities or IT or safety review, independent contractor, all those different compliance areas. You have to be careful who you forward it to. That is using this forward. If by chance you say, I need to have them look at it again, or I need to revert it back to a previous step. This works better like from procurement review, reverting back to independent contractor review. Say like, oh, did you catch this? It was buried deep in there, but there's some information you really need to know. I just want to make sure that you saw it. And if you didn't, please go back and review it and approve it. There's something called revert to previous workflow step. And at the top of the workflow, under this workflow, there's 3 dots. It says revert workflow to previous step. When you select that, it'll give you the option of who can you revert it to. In this case, it just reverts to automatic steps, which really don't do anything. But if I was in procurement review, reverting it back to independent contractor review, I'm not forwarding the approval of procurement. It's putting it back in their queue and they can approve it in their appropriate independent contractor review queue or facilities review or IT review. So that is appropriate action saying, go back and look at it again, make sure it's approved, and then approve it. It'll come to me again after that. There's one other type of thing you can do in approvals. You can do an ad hoc approval step. So before it goes to the next step in line, you can add an ad hoc approver step. And you say, where do I want to put it? I'm going to put it after the current step, but before procurement. And you do somebody else's name in there. I know this is the different campus. Let's just pick somebody. Let's say this is one quick review, not part of automatic workflow, is just adding this one specific, say, hey, can you look at this before it goes to the next step? And when I add that ad hoc approval, now it goes, you can see it was added here. That ad hoc approval step goes to that person. Once they approve it, then it goes on to the procurement review step. If everything's good and everything is appropriate, I would just go into approve and complete step, or just approve. It's approved out of my step and now moves on to the next step. It takes you back to this approval screen, which I will show you how to get there in just a minute. quick questions on the approval process that I just did in the requisition before I take you to that other page that you briefly saw.
There was a question by Benny. I was not watching what you were doing. It looks like Sarah's
Okay.
responding right now. I guess, Sarah, if you feel
Okay.
like you have that, then we don't need to answer it.
Yeah, I think it was just about forwarding, Michael. So if
Okay.
I forward the approval to someone, that means they can approve. Yes, as long as they already have an approver role. So they have to be designated an approver before, if Michael forwarded it to me and I'm not normally an approver, it doesn't just give me the power to approve.
You
I
just
guess I
want to be careful about the whole approval and forwarding. So if you are a chief procurement officer or a director of procurement, you do not want to forward those requisitions if you are in the requisition itself, because you'll be forwarding all of your signing rates, which are, or your approval thresholds, which are higher than your team's approving thresholds. So there is a kind of a menu place of all requisitions, because you're working requisitions now. You would go in and view all those requisitions before drilling into the requisition. You can forward from there, and then you're not forwarding all of your approval thresholds. Is that correct, Michael?
Yeah, you could forward from the approvals page, or you could forward from a specific document. But yeah, it's important to see what workflow step you are in and who you're forwarding it to is the key issues.
And Michael, there's one other question. Does a comment box come up when you send it back? Or do you need to add a comment before you take that step? So is it notifying? Is it notifying if you have done that?
Yeah. When
Okay.
you either revert a workflow step back or you return it to requester, for example, I'm going to assign this to myself. Either one of those, normally it'll come up saying, please add a comment. It will notify the person saying, this has been returned to you and here's why, or this is, forwarded to you and here's why. And so, just for example, I'm going to return this. And so it pops up saying, I'm returning to the requisitioner. Do your comment, which will be added to the document, and then you save it. It gets returned.
We have another question. If you do an ad hoc, do you still need to approve it so that it moves forward to them?
So you basically, when you add the ad hoc step, all you're doing is adding the workflow step there. You are still currently in whatever step you are assigned, so you don't need to forward it. You just approve it. I'm done with my approval. I've reviewed it. I approve it. I've added this new step in here, so it automatically goes to that new step of ad hoc. Then it's in their court. They would assign it to themselves, review it, and approve it, and then it goes on to the next step. So that's the beauty of an ad hoc approver. You're just adding this whole new workflow step in there. That once you approve, it just goes automatically there.
We have 3 minutes. I'm going to
Okay.
ask one more, and then I'm going to probably need to share my screen while we finish.
Okay. I have one more thing to show real quick.
One question also. Will the approvers receive new notification once return to shared folder to unassign yourself is selected? When you return something to the shared folder, you're not changing anything in the workflow. You're either pulling it out for yourself to work on, or you're putting it back in the workflow for somebody else to work on, or for you to come to it later.
And it's not going to notify that it went back in.
Yeah. I don't think there's a notification there of just returning to shared workflow. If you want a specific person in your department to be aware of it, you may just need to send them a notification on the document itself saying, here, this is yours, please take it and assign it to yourself, or something like that. Another important screen approvers. This will see all your approvals in one step, and there's several different ways to get there. Action item, requisitions to approve. It says I have 7. Another way to get there is orders, approval, requisitions to approve. Same thing, it'll take you there. These are the different folders that I have ability to. My name is in there. As you can see, there's a lot. There's like 50 of these in here, but the ones that I've assigned to myself are under my PR approvals. So those are the ones you can say assigned approver. That's the name of the cart. Here's the created date of the requisition, how many days it's been in the folder. This has been 163 days. Not sure what's wrong with me for not approving this ahead of time. For each one of these, once it's assigned to myself, I can click the box on the bottom, take action. I can do all those similar steps that were in the specific document. I can do here, return it, approve it, put on hold, etc. I can also do a quick approve over here. It's not recommended to blindly approve. You need to see what you're approving. You can do a quick view. Let's just do a quick view of what's on that rec. And then you can approve it if necessary. So this shows, you can also filter on this page on the left-hand side, certain by supplier or workflow step, etc. So those are recs to approve. And go ahead, Tani.
Okay, let me get my screen. Go ahead as in let me share.
Go ahead, you can share now.
Okay.
I think I'll remind everyone that you will get training. You will get training on as an approver. You'll get training as a requester. So you'll get the training later on. This is intended really for that, to give you a view of what it looks like so that it is not a foreign concept to you. So I just want to make sure everybody understands you will get training in the future.
So this slide shows your campus project lead. Some of the questions we weren't able to answer because the configuration is specific to your campus. So this, find your campus here, that's who you can reach out to. If you're able to stay on, we can try to stay on and answer a couple more questions, but we will be wrapping up soon. So if you have additional questions, I would direct them to the people who we have listed here. So the one I was answering here was, can the DOA forward to a staff member to review and make comments and then somehow return it to the DOA for approval? The nice thing about this is if you comment in through P2P, it will notify the person that you commented to, so it can live in the same workflow location. You don't have to, doesn't have to leave that DOA approval. And when they comment back, you will also see that. So it can stay in one location. Anybody can comment on it at any time. Is P2P for stateside or ASI and foundation as well? If your campus is in CFS, then you're likely going into P2P. So that's a great question for your campus project lead. We've been working with all of the auxiliaries to get their configuration pinned down. Could you please open the system for fiscal year 26-27 so I can commit? We don't open the future year until June 1st or June 2nd. So we don't allow future year transactions, and there's a whole different, not a whole different process. You'll be getting notification from your campus towards the end of the fiscal year, and you will be able to start entering those then. And then, oh, thank you. Can you share the demo agenda slide again for a screen grab? We will be sending these out to you, so no need to go back there. I want to leave this one up just so people can see who their contact is. If a compliance reviewer needs additional information regarding product or service, is there a way to contact? Yes. So there's a comments feature, and it's a great way to collect additional information and keep everything within P2P so everything is transparent. That one's done. And will we be able to communicate to the procurement buyer assigned? Yes. The comments feature can be used at any step to any person at any stage along the way. So it's a great feature. And when you comment to somebody, you're selecting who you want to comment to, and those people or that person gets notified when they receive a comment. They'll get an email or a flag. There's various ways that you can set up those features. It's defaulted to send an email. Okay, I'm going to say, please stop submitting questions and we'll try to answer everything else. Can the ASM
see everything submitted on behalf of their college or department? If so, is there a way to download or export? Yes,
Yes.
yes, and yes. So the saying is, and you'll hear it again, is there's no secrets in CSUBUY. So you can go in and see everything for the depth ID or for a specific person, or the search capabilities are pretty vast.
And last question, will we be able to input multi-year contracts such as for software? Yes.
Yes.
There's a couple different ways to do this. So your campus will train you. You can either do the full contract amount in line 1, so it will route to the proper DOA, or you can break it up into various lines. So you'll have year 1 on line 1, year 2 on line 2, and that will route. And then once it gets to procurement, they'll reduce the future years down to like a penny. And then once the new year comes up, they will add that year back, because we can't encumber future years. Is why we have to do it that way. You want to wrap up, Sarah?
Sure. So that concludes our demo for today. And thank you so much for your attendance and your questions. Remember that your P2P project team on your campus, direct your inquiries there. They also have a P2P website that will house this demonstration of the video recording, so you can go back and get pieces and parts at any time. So thanks again for attending, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks,
Thank you
everyone.
all.
Should we enter backstage? Okay.